en goedenavond. Good evening. Welcome to a multilingual evening. Welkom bij een avond met meerdere talen. En ik zal Engels spreken, zoals de meeste, of Frans, Duits, nee, niet Duits, Frans, Italiaans of Spaans. Just introducing the languages that we will have around the room tonight. And we are gathered here in a, I think, quite, somebody asked whether I was excited or whether, the thing is, I am very excited, but usually I'm excited to present my own research. I am professor of European migration law at the Radboud University, and I'm a scholar. I do research. But for 20, almost 30 years, I have been researching migration and domestic work in the Netherlands. And the two are intertwined as a logic for everyone, yet somehow it is also a logic for everyone that we apparently do not seem to care at an institutional level what happens behind the door of the home. So the position of the domestic workers is, whether it's migrants or Dutch citizens, something that in the Netherlands has for decades been neglected. And I've been studying it, I've been writing it and writing it again and discussing it with colleagues that I see around the room, and we're like, oh yeah. And before I end up a Muppet, well, not everybody knows the Muppet shows, but the older ones know the Muppet Show, and there's two grumpy old guys looking down at the field. I do not want to become that without having tried something new. So we are gathered here today for something new, which is the founding of an association of employers of domestic workers. We do this, interestingly, together with people from the FNV, which is the union. But it is social dialogue that we are, at least it's one of the things we want. So it makes sense to do it together with the union, because they will be our partner in a social dialogue. Now, I'm going to be quiet. This was me speaking as the academic, and now I'm going to switch to being the moderator of tonight, because there's a lot of other people who will speak about the topic. Before I do so, just a very quick question. Let's put it in this language, who identifies themselves as an employer in domestic services? You're okay, so you're employing other domestic, or a gardener, or a care worker, or a driver. Employer. Is there somebody else who provides services for you in your home, and that makes you an employer, whether it's the 3-hour-a-week cleaning, or caring for an elderly, or caring for the children, or yeah. So I see so that's good. So you're the first members, potentially, of this association. But we're not very exclusive in the sense that you have to be an employer. If you support our mission, you're welcome as well as a member. Who is or has ever been, let's put it like that, a domestic worker, cleaning somebody else's house, or driving, gardening, taking care of the children of somebody else, taking care of the elderly? Yeah, that's also quite some hands. Good. It's good to be together in those roles. And as you can see, I raised my hand twice. When I was a student, I worked at thuiszorg in the Netherlands, and I took the tram to Osdorp, and I had 3 houses of elderly ladies where I cleaned, and that was my student job. So that experience, and I actually cleaned at my aunt's home, Doortje. Yeah. So you're an employer too, or at least you were back then. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to invite Leontine to come forward to speak to us. Leontine is a legal expert on domestic work in the Netherlands and beyond, international, etc. And you're going to share some of your knowledge with us tonight. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. Yes. I will speak about the domestic work in Dutch context. Thanks to the organizers for the invitation. I am one of the experts of legal aspects of the domestic work in the Netherlands. And I wrote, together with Eva Kremers, this handbook in 2010, in which all the legal ins and outs, which is quite difficult, we wrote it down. A few years later, I wrote an addendum to it. And since then, I will tell about that later. We had several court cases, so I was too busy involved with that. But a third addendum, a third book, a second addendum will follow in a few years' time. And I applaud the launch of the employers' organization in our country. Being no employer, I cannot join as an employer, but as president of the Association of Women in Law, we certainly will collaborate with the new organization. Next slide, please. Yes, there it is. I will speak about a number of subjects. You can read the 5 issues. I will touch upon. Next slide, please. Yeah. So, domestic work by housewives, family members, mothers and fathers, care for oneself is not included in the definition. But of course, that type of work, care for oneself, care for the children and the elderly in their own family, influences the concept of paid domestic work. Because it is in the Netherlands considered as unskilled work, everyone is supposed to be able to do it. And consequently, according to the official policies, plenty of residents of our country can do the job. There are especially many women available, so no working permits for people coming from abroad, migrants who are in fact specialized, because it is of course not unskilled work, domestic work. In reality, there is a huge demand, especially in the bigger cities. I live for myself in the rural areas up north. There it's not the migrants who perform paid domestic work, but in the cities, even up north, migrants do a lot. So there is a huge demand, mostly for a few hours every week or every fortnight. And I will explain next what this means, those few hours a week or in the fortnight, for the legal position. But I want to touch on one special Dutch phenomenon before that. That is that care workers at home are under Dutch law considered as domestic workers. Even though some of them perform highly specialized tasks as nursing at home, they still are considered domestic workers in the legal sense. And the same applies to childcare at home. So what is the legal position? You can read for yourselves, and I will explain some more. domestic workers in the Netherlands never have enjoyed the same rights as all other workers. Slowly, domestic workers in history acquired some rights. For instance, but it took a long time until, I think it was the 90s, the right to the statutory minimum wage. But they never acquired the right to social security, protection when you are unemployed, become unemployed or become incapable to work. Domestic workers in the Netherlands ought to pay taxes themselves and also income-related health insurance. All other workers don't have to do that themselves. Their employer will take care of that. The employer will also pay the contribution for the social security. And that's a difference of 20% of the gross wage of the employer. So the consequence is that domestic workers are cheaper than those doing the same things but work for a company, supplying home-based services for cleaning, caring, etc. And that explains the high use of the construction of domestic work, the Home Services Regulation, as it is called since 2007, in the home care. Next, please. So, domestic workers do have less rights, but it does not mean that they don't have legally rights. Because the employer is an employer, the employer has to pay at least the minimum wage. The employer has to pay at least a holiday allowance of 8% of the hourly wage for every hour that is worked. And the employer also has to pay paid leave. And there are some more obligations of the employer, and you can see that for yourselves when you used the link in English. I will supply it, and here you can see it. This is a picture of it. But if you click it, it's a short link, and it's from wage indicator, and it's in Dutch, and it is in English. So we made sure that there is the up-to-date information on it now, especially for the launch of the new association. So, additionally, under Dutch law, it's permitted for private employers to pay cash. Most employers do not know that they are permitted to pay in cash. They think they do something illegal when they hand over a few notes as a wage. Most employers, most private employers, are neither aware of employer duties. So I would suggest to use the information on the website to teach yourself what you should do. Because, in fact, most employers do want to be a decent employer. And if you don't know what to do, you can inform yourself, and then you can act as a decent employer to give decent work for domestic work. I'll come back to that. As I said, for a very long time, domestic workers in the Netherlands do not have the same rights as all other workers. And we wrote about it in books, but to change it, we tried to influence the politicians, we tried to influence the official employer organizations, the trade unions, but we never managed to change the politics. And then you have to find out whether you can use the court cases to achieve results. But then you are dependent of one of the workers who is prepared to, to go to court, to And finally, in 2020, someone came to us, to the Dutch Association Women in Law, asking permission to use our handbook in a court case that she started herself. And it was a domestic worker in the home care. From, in Dutch, it was the PGB, persoonsgebonden budget. It was a very special arrangement, which is not very interesting for our guests from abroad here. And guess what? She won at the Rotterdam District Court. She was not only, of course, given permission to use it, but I said to her, well, why don't we join forces with all the expertise, the legal expertise we have in the Netherlands, and find a good prodeo lawyer to carry the case for you. And we won. And of course, Dutch politics was very disappointed, so was the UWV. It was about the right to an employment benefit. So they brought an appeal to the Central Appeals Court, but we won there either, 2023. And that meant that all home care workers in the Netherlands acquired access to social security protection, back to the date of the first court verdict. And then women started to phone us, Bureau Clara Wigman, Dutch Association of Women in Law, the unions, and brought also forward their special cases. So more and more cases were brought forward, and we as experts helped the lawyers to argue. And it was, as you can read here, especially about the third equal treatment directive, dating already back to '79 from the European Union, and of course also the UN Women's Convention. So at present, and then it's legal procedures too, there is now also a court case of a domestic worker not being employed as home care worker. And this was a case about the sickness benefit. In Holland, in the Netherlands, the employer has to pay for 6 weeks when someone is ill to do the job. All other workers, their employer has to pay for 104 weeks, so that's the difference. But she applied afterwards to the social security system to acquire a sickness benefit. She was refused, and we won again in District Court North Holland. End of August, the hearing is in the Central Court of Appeals, and we hope, of course, that this will also move on for other domestic workers in the Netherlands. Big question is, will this also improve the situation of migrant domestic workers? I think only those with a residential status. Those who do not have residential status, the undocumented migrant domestic workers, it will be far more difficult for them to use the results of those court cases. But what we can do is try to reopen the discussion. Then I'll approach the last slide. I was asked to answer the question, why did the Netherlands not ratify the ILO Domestic Workers Convention, the Decent Work for Domestic Workers, which was agreed upon 15 years ago, and the Netherlands voted for it? That's because of Article 14. The convention prescribes to give domestic workers the same access to social security as all other workers, and as I explained, it's not the case. Why did the Netherlands vote positive? Because they wanted to help the domestic workers in those other countries. In the Netherlands, everything is okay. in the opinion of the government. But to help the domestic workers in Saudi Arabia and in South Africa and elsewhere, they voted for. Thank you. This was it.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, your notes. Thank you, Leontine. We are going straight into something that Leontine actually already announced. She said the international guests present. And indeed, we have a set of international guests here, and we're going to start with a representative, the Dutch representative of the European Commission. Freek, please, the floor is yours. What is the position of the Dutch representative with the European Commission on this topic?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm not an international guest, but a guest from an international organization. Let's put it that way. So first of all, thank you very much to the organizers for inviting the Commission to say a few words here. My headquarters in Brussels asked me to, on their behalf, on the behalf of the Director General for Social Affairs and Employment, say a few words about domestic work and also about the social dialogue. But maybe before I do that, I think it's good to have a kind of context, in this case a demographic context that I would give. First of all, well, we all know that Europe's population is aging very rapidly. People are having less and less children. The current fertility rate in the EU is 1.4 children per woman, whereas to keep the population stable you would have to have 2.1. So that's quite a big difference. And at the same time, we live longer and longer. The average life expectancy at birth in the EU is now 81 years. It's 78 for men and 84 for women. And this leads to the situation by 2040 that we will have a population aged over 65 of about 27%. So more than a quarter of the population of the EU will be over 65. And 9% will be over 80. So this leads to more and more needs for long-term care. So across the EU, and okay, the EU has about 440 million people, around 31 million people are currently in need of long-term care. And by 2050, this figure is projected to have risen to 38 million. And this, of course, is increasing pressure on families, on labor markets, on social protection systems, as was mentioned, and on our society as a whole. So currently, if we take a look at the financing of this long-term care, we are spending of our average EU income, our EU GDP, about 1.7% on long-term care. And again, this demand for this kind of care is rising faster actually than the available budgets. Now, across member states, there are quite big differences. So you have member states who are investing or spending, I should say, quite a lot on long-term care. So the Netherlands, for example, it's 3.8% of GDP, Sweden 3.2, Denmark 3.0, whereas others, Cyprus, it's 0.2, or Greece 0.1. They're not spending that much. And there are pros and cons to this, of course, because in the Netherlands you might say, it's very good. The Dutch are very generous when they're spending so much money on long-term care, but at the same time it will become a very big problem if this spending is not made more efficient, because in the end, with people becoming older and older, this will grow, this percentage, and it will become fiscally unsustainable. So we are, every year, the Commission is advising on socio-economic issues to all member states. So in the report that we issued just on the 3rd of June this year, we said to the Netherlands that in order for this percentage not to increase, and with all the dangers of derailing of public finances, more attention should be paid to the prevention of illness at a later stage in life, But also one should look at the financial system, because now in the Netherlands, for example, municipalities have a kind of incentive to shift care to institutional care, because that's financed nationally and not by the municipality. So there is in a way a bit of an artificial drive towards institutional care rather than home care. Now another issue is of course the workforce shortages. Today the long-term care sector employs about 3.1 million people across the EU, representing 1.5% of total EU employment. And on top of that, we have, of course, a large number, it's difficult to qualify, of undeclared work, of informal domestic work. So there are some estimations that by 2035, some 4.3 million additional job openings will be needed to be filled in order to satisfy to meet the basic care needs. Now, what is the EU, the Commission and the Member States, what are they doing about this trend in increasing long-term care? Well, we have launched the so-called European Care Strategy, which is an overall strategy for the whole, let's say, healthcare sector, but also with attention to domestic workers. So there are two big goals of this long-term care strategy, which was not coincidentally launched in 2002, just right after the COVID pandemic. So the first one is better access to care for all, and the second one is better jobs for care workers, and both for formal and informal care workers, I should say. This care strategy is accompanied by recommendations from the European Council, so from all the 27 member states that have adopted them, on access to affordable, high-quality long-term care. So this recommendation invites member states to take action to improve access to affordable, high-quality long-term care, but at the same time also addresses the adequacy of social protection for long-term care, and the availability and quality of long-term care services. And it invites also member states to have in place a long-term care coordinator, so to make it concrete who is responsible per member state for making progress in this area. And all countries, all 27, have shared their national implementation plans in this respect within 18 months from the adoption of this recommendation. Now, about the quality employment and fair working conditions, this recommendation also calls on actions in terms of the national social dialogue that we will be speaking about later on, and collective bargaining. Also ensuring attractive wages and adequate working arrangements, non-discrimination, also very important, occupational health and safety, so that you are guaranteed a safe working environment as a health worker. And it also addresses the challenges of vulnerable groups of workers, so domestic long-term care workers, live-in care workers, and also migrant care workers. When it comes to the professionalization of care and addressing the skills needs, this recommendation also very much goes into issues such as lifelong learning, career pathways for domestic workers, including upskilling and reskilling. Also special attention to the regular employment status for undeclared long-term workers, legal migration pathways, professional standards, and tackling gender stereotypes and gender segregation. Now it's a no-brainer that also in the area of domestic work we need a good and thorough social dialogue. So social partners should also in this area play a crucial role in addressing practical challenges such as pay, staffing levels and working conditions. And that the European level organizations such as the European Federation of Public Service Unions and social employers are actively working to deliver better working conditions and higher standards in care services. And in this respect, a key milestone was reached last year in June 2025 with the adoption of a joint framework of action on staff retention and recruitment. This was negotiated jointly by employers and trade unions, and this milestone initiative sets out the Social Dialogue Committee's partners' goals and actions to tackle the workforce shortages and also the high turnover of care workers. So it calls on governments and funding authorities to help make care jobs more attractive and more sustainable and rewarding as well. Now you might say, yeah, it's nice, all these recommendations, but what happens if they're not implemented? And this is a big problem. And we've seen in the past actually that it's a very mixed picture that, that member states provide in this respect. Some are good, some are not so good. And until recently, we did not really have a sanction on it when these recommendations were not implemented. But with the so-called COVID recovery and resilience plans, we have it, because we are, and maybe just for your information, this was an initiative set up during COVID when economies of member states were very much affected. So not only the health situation in member states was affected, but also the economies. And the Commission came up with a proposal which was adopted by member states to have a very big fiscal stimulus, so to pump a lot of money into the economies of member states, but at the condition that they would make progress with reforms and investments. And these reforms and investments should actually be based on recommendations. Now, and this so-called results-based management will be continuing in the next period. As of 2028, there will be a new 7-year budget for the European Union, in which we will have a similar program and which we will link recommendations also to the actual program, so that there is a sanction that if member states don't live up to these recommendations, they risk to not get money from the EU. So we are hoping that this way we will see a more effective EU policy in this area. And I think also, yeah, the initiative of forming an association for domestic care workers would very much fit in this line of thought. So maybe we can issue a recommendation next year and then take it into the plan and then hold the Dutch government responsible. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And Freek, you indeed you made reference to European associations, and we are here supported by the European Federation of Family Employers and Home Care. That is some members of the association or federation, I have to say. I have to get used to this language. We'll probably be a member, so I need to become the way you have to become within this federation. But I want to ask to join me here, Andrea from Italy, Julie from France, and Carmel from Spain. S'il vous plaît. Yeah, so I don't speak, I speak a little bit of Spanish, but my Italian and French are absent. Each of you briefly has a moment, as we agreed, and we will start with Andrea, to share with us the experience that they have setting up an association like this in their countries. Andrea.
Grazie. Grazie a tutti per l'invito. Spero che la traduzione cominci a marciare, perché io parlo solo italiano. Grazie davvero per questo invito e per gli organizzatori che hanno saputo creare un'occasione davvero di valore, e non ha valore solo celebrativo, ma rappresenta un'occasione per l'intera comunità, perché la nascita di una nuova organizzazione è spesso il segnale di un cambiamento già in atto, di un'esigenza concreta che emerge dalla società e chiede di essere rappresentata. Quando si parla di cura, di assistenza e vita domestica, non si fa riferimento soltanto a un settore occupazionale. Si entra piuttosto nel cuore di alcune delle grandi sfide che ci attendono e attendono la nostra società nei prossimi decenni, obiettivi con cui devono confrontarsi i singoli Stati, ma anche l'Europa nel suo insieme. L'invecchiamento della popolazione e l'allungamento della speranza di vita, perché la vera sfida non è soltanto vivere più a lungo, ma vivere meglio. Le nuove solitudini, la denatalità, le migrazioni, il superamento del gender gap, l'empowerment femminile, la ricerca di un equilibrio sempre più sostenibile tra vita professionale e vita privata. Ecco, mi è stato chiesto di raccontare il modello italiano e l'esperienza di Assindatcol, che è l'associazione italiana dei datori di lavoro domestico, che da oltre 40 anni rappresenta le famiglie datrici di lavoro domestico. Il modello mediterraneo che prevede l'assunzione del lavoratore direttamente da parte della famiglia, non tramite impresa. Le storie, come dire, ci hanno cambiato. Siamo nati per sottoscrivere un contratto, ma ora siamo interlocutori delle istituzioni. Siamo interlocutori stabili, oltre che essere l'associazione di categoria più rappresentativa nel nostro Paese. E ho accolto molto volentieri questo invito proprio per raccontare un po' questa storia, la storia delle organizzazioni italiane, perché abbiamo attraversato decenni di cambiamenti che finiscono inevitabilmente per raccontare qualcosa che va al di là delle stesse organizzazioni. Raccontano un'epoca segnata da profonde trasformazioni demografiche, sociali, culturali ed economiche. Non si tratta dunque di un semplice esercizio di memoria, ma piuttosto di un atto di consapevolezza e in un certo senso di responsabilità. Significa mettere a disposizione un percorso, con i suoi limiti, le intuizioni e le conquiste, nella convinzione che ogni esperienza possa contribuire alla costruzione di qualcosa di più grande, proprio come accade oggi qui nel vostro caso. Per comprendere la nascita di Assindatcol però dobbiamo andare al 1983. Il Paese attraversava una fase di profonda trasformazione, l'Italia, crescevano i settori dei servizi, la partecipazione femminile al mercato del lavoro e nuovi modelli di organizzazione familiare si avanzavano nella società. La figura prevalente allora era quella della collaboratrice domestica, quella che aiutava a mantenere la casa pulita, cucinare, ma era un'attività che da lì a poco sarebbe piano piano tramontata e si sarebbero affermate altre figure ugualmente indispensabili: la babysitter per la cura dei bambini e, questo è un termine tutto italiano, la badante, l'assistente familiare alle persone non autosufficienti. Ecco, in questo contesto è nata Assindatcol, che per iniziativa di Confedilizia è l'associazione italiana dei proprietari di immobili che si occupavano del personale che stava al di fuori della propria casa e si sono resi conto che c'era anche un personale che lavorava dentro la propria casa. È stata un'intuizione che è importante e soprattutto che ha sviluppato una conoscenza, una consapevolezza che questo lavoro, questo settore necessitava di regole, tutele e forme di rappresentanza proprie. Non era sufficiente rappresentare la proprietà dell'abitazione, ma occorreva anche dare voce alle famiglie nella loro veste di datori di lavoro. Allora, era così, ma ora è profondamente cambiato. Ci sono nuovi fattori che si sono aggiunti ad alimentare la trasformazione della nostra società. Oggi assistiamo a una partecipazione femminile al lavoro molto più elevata rispetto agli anni '80, alla crescita delle famiglie monopersonali, all'aumento della mobilità geografica e professionale, a una domanda sempre più intensa di servizi di cura alle persone e non più alle abitazioni. Abbiamo necessità di conciliare la vita familiare e il lavoro. Il mercato ancora in larga parte informale non riesce, anche in Italia il lavoro nero è molto diffuso, è più il lavoro nero che il lavoro regolare. Circa il 54% del totale è lavoro irregolare. Non riesce infatti a farsi pienamente carico della domanda, questo mercato che è ancora largamente informale. Quindi resta una criticità. Come fare a togliere di mezzo il lavoro irregolare. La sfida che abbiamo davanti è chiara: far emergere il lavoro sommerso, semplificare gli adempimenti, promuovere la cultura della regolarità e rendere sempre più conveniente e accessibile il lavoro dichiarato. Si tratta di un obiettivo che riguarda contemporaneamente la sicurezza delle famiglie, la tutela dei lavoratori e la sostenibilità del nostro welfare. Per questo c'è una grande interlocuzione con le istituzioni italiane. Siamo, fra l'altro, una generazione sandwich. Abbiamo dei genitori sempre più anziani e abbiamo dei figli sempre meno. Mi stai già facendo segno che devo chiudere? Più lento? Ok.
Yeah, sì.
Perfetto. Grazie a te. A completare questo quadro vi è un fenomeno decisivo in Italia, quello delle migrazioni. Una parte significativa del sistema europeo, infatti, si cura e si fonda sul contributo di lavoratrici e lavoratori provenienti da altri paesi non europei. Le migrazioni rappresentano una risposta concreta agli squilibri demografici che attraversano il continente e costituiscono una componente essenziale del welfare familiare. Però ci dobbiamo porre interrogativi importanti. Come vengono regolati questi fenomeni? E soprattutto l'Europa, rispetto a questa organizzazione, che cosa ci può offrire? Come si possono valorizzare le competenze, promuovere una reale integrazione sociale e professionale? Ci sono anche i temi dell'intelligenza artificiale, delle nuove tecnologie, ma salto anche perché grazie alle nuove tecnologie riuscite a capirmi. Quindi la domanda che ci poniamo è un meccanismo, un modello che appartiene al passato, questo del lavoro domestico? No, siamo profondamente convinti che oggi, come 40 anni fa, investire su questo comparto significa guardare al futuro. E per farlo dobbiamo continuare a puntare sul riconoscimento dei diritti e dei doveri, ma anche sulla formazione continua, sulla qualificazione professionale, sulla certificazione delle competenze. Le associazioni di rappresentanza hanno oggi una responsabilità particolarmente rilevante: accompagnare il comparto domestico e di cura verso quel salto di qualità, anche culturale, che chiede una sempre maggiore attenzione da parte delle istituzioni. Questa è la parte più moderna della nostra attività, quella di rappresentare gli interessi complessivi della famiglia. Infatti una parte importante del lavoro di Assindatcol consiste in un confronto quotidiano con il governo, con il Parlamento, con i ministeri, con gli enti competenti. Portiamo avanti all'attenzione delle istituzioni le esigenze concrete delle famiglie, elaboriamo proposte, partecipiamo ai tavoli di confronto. Si tratta di un lavoro spesso silenzioso ma essenziale. Però quello che volevo rappresentare al meglio...
I think this was a
Aiutami.
beautiful moment to conclude.
Okay.
So we bring the needs of employer families to the attention of institutions.
Okay.
That is exactly what we will be doing. And I think we can thank you. Molto grazie. Yeah. So, sorry. Can we put this on our website as a quote? Because it's great to hear it from you. We have said this as researchers forever, but to hear it from you is very important for the Dutch context. But there, so I'm going to leave it here for now. I'm going to go to your colleague, Julie from France.
Oui.
If that's okay.
Una parola sola. Volevo dire che nella nostra esperienza, lavorando con tanti lavoratori stranieri, abbiamo dovuto adeguarci anche alle loro lingue, per cui vi ho portato il nostro contratto che è tradotto in 6 lingue, proprio perché le regole vanno conosciute, come diceva la professoressa.
Ah, grazie.
E ultimissima frase, ma non più come a sindaco, come presidente europeo, è la mia prima uscita, sono stato nominato ieri l'altro presidente assieme alla vicepresidente spagnola e alla vicepresidente francese. È bello essere qui per poter assistere alla nascita di un futuro nuovo membro, speriamo, della nostra federazione. Grazie.
Grazie. Julie, please, the floor is yours.
Merci, bonsoir. Je suis Julie Lautel de Loum, je suis la présidente de la FEPEM, qui est la Fédération des employeurs à domicile en France. C'est une très vieille maison, puisque la FEPEM va fêter ses 80 ans l'année prochaine. Alors, comment la FEPEM est née ? En réalité, c'est un constat, une réalité. Personne ne naît particulier employeur ou employeur à domicile. Par contre, ce qu'on peut voir, c'est qu'on a besoin de s'occuper de nos enfants. On a besoin de s'occuper des personnes qui sont en situation de handicap, des personnes âgées, de faire le ménage. En 2026, on doit toujours faire le ménage. Et ça, souvent, ce sont les femmes qui le font sans être déclarées, sans être payées, et lorsqu'elles veulent travailler en même temps, ou lorsqu'elles veulent tout simplement faire autre chose, eh bien, parfois, il est possible de pouvoir employer un salarié à son domicile. En France, nous sommes 3,4 millions d'employeurs à domicile, et on emploie 1,2 million de salariés. Et c'est en regardant cette réalité, qui est très importante, mais qui est souvent invisible, que la FEPEM est née. Parce que quand on embauche quelqu'un à son domicile, on devient employeur, mais on n'a aucune formation juridique, on n'a aucune formation en management, aucune formation sociale, et pourtant on a des responsabilités, on a des devoirs, mais on a aussi des obligations. Et face à ce constat, la FEPEM est née en 1948 pour se construire en 80 ans tout un système avec les organisations syndicales. Et ça a été très progressif. Ça a débuté en 1973. On a enfin vu le statut de l'employeur à domicile qui a été reconnu. Notre convention collective, la première, est arrivée en 1980. Et les dispositifs fiscaux, la réduction fiscale quand on déclare son salarié, a débuté en 1991. Je voulais commencer par là pour vous dire que c'est un chemin qui est long, mais qui est nécessaire. Et lorsqu'on voit le chemin parcouru là où on était, nous, en 1948, et là où on est aujourd'hui, c'est considérable la différence pour nous, les employeurs, mais peut-être presque plus pour les salariés. Parce que ce qu'il faut voir, c'est que nous, on est là pour défendre les employeurs, mais en fait, en défendant les employeurs et en les sécurisant, eh bien, on protège les salariés. Vous l'avez dit, et la situation existe partout en Europe, le travail dissimulé. C'est un constat qui existe donc sur tout le territoire. Nous avons considéré qu'on ne pouvait pas faire semblant de ne pas le voir. On ne va pas criminaliser les employeurs ou les salariés. Par contre, il faut permettre aux gens de travailler dans des conditions régulières. Et donc, on a créé, pas juste nous tout seuls, hein, avec les partenaires sociaux, les organisations syndicales, les conditions pour permettre les contrats de travail. En fait, ce qu'il faut, c'est que les conditions de formalisation, elles soient possibles, attractives et qu'elles soient simples. Il y a 3 conditions. Un cadre. Il faut un cadre juridique. On est employeur à domicile, mais on n'est pas une entreprise. On n'est pas des professionnels. Et donc, souvent, les salariés qui viennent chez vous vont garder ce qui vous est le plus cher, vos enfants ou vos parents. Donc, il faut sécuriser cette relation, une relation qui se passe dans votre domicile, ce qui est extrêmement intime. Et donc, en France, je vous le disais, à partir de 1973 et 2016, nous avons mis en place un statut juridique qui n'a rien à voir avec les entreprises. On a des règles qui sont différentes de celles des entreprises. Ça, c'est la première condition, le cadre juridique. La deuxième, c'est la simplification administrative. Avec les pouvoirs publics, on a réussi à négocier la mise en place de dispositifs très simples. Le CESU, c'est le contrat par lequel quand vous voulez déclarer votre salarié, vous allez sur le site du gouvernement, vous avez juste à cliquer, vous mettez le nombre d'heures, vous mettez le salaire de votre salarié, ça vous dit combien vous devez le payer, et même le paiement se fait tout seul. Cette simplification, elle est essentielle. Il faut que ce soit automatisé. C'est pas ça qui va faire que tout deviendra rose demain, mais c'est la deuxième condition essentielle. La troisième, on appelle ça la solvabilisation. Il faut que lorsque vous déclarez, ça vous revienne moins cher que si vous payez au travail dissimulé. En France, quand on déclare son salarié, on paye 50% en moins de toute l'addition. Vous savez, en France, on dit qu'on a beaucoup d'impôts. On le dit, c'est vrai. Donc, vous avez le salaire du salarié, vous avez les impôts dessus, et donc ça pourrait donner envie de ne pas déclarer. Sauf qu'en France, on a mis en place un crédit de 50%, et donc finalement, ça vous revient moins cher de déclarer que si vous donniez en cachette l'argent aux salariés. Ça, c'est l'élément indispensable. Sachez qu'en France, donc ce dispositif, il est mis en place depuis 1991. En France, tous les ans, on est attaqué là-dessus parce que l'État, toute personne, nous dit que ça coûte trop cher. Sauf que ce qu'ils oublient de compter, c'est que si l'État nous réduit de 50%, eh bien nous, on a plus de gens qui sont salariés et donc qui contribuent au dynamisme économique, qui payent des cotisations. C'est la troisième condition qui est absolument indispensable pour qu'on puisse justement rentrer dans la formalisation. Et ça fonctionne, puisque on considère qu'on était à 50% de travail dissimulé dans les années 90, et aujourd'hui, on pense qu'on en est à 20%. C'est absolument essentiel. Peut-être ce que je voulais vous dire aussi, c'est que ce qui nous a permis d'en arriver là aujourd'hui, parce que là, je ne vous parle que de la structure, mais en fait, c'est tout ce qu'on a pu mettre dedans. Aujourd'hui, en France, vous êtes un employeur considéré pas comme un employeur classique, mais en face, on a des salariés qui doivent avoir les mêmes droits que s'ils travaillaient dans des entreprises. Et en 48 ans, on a réussi à en mettre en place la retraite, des garanties sociales, des activités sociales et culturelles. On a pu mettre en place, depuis l'année dernière, un service de santé au travail, et maintenant, on va pouvoir commencer à travailler sur la prévention collective. Pour que ça se fasse, on a dû le faire avec les partenaires sociaux, avec les organisations syndicales. L'État ne s'en occupait pas. Si vous n'y allez pas, personne n'ira. Ce que vous faites est absolument remarquable. Quand je vois là où nous, on est arrivés en France, ce n'est que parce qu'il y avait des gens comme vous, il y a 48 ans, qui ont considéré que c'était essentiel de s'occuper d'un secteur qui est notre quotidien. Et donc tout ça a été mis en place parce qu'en fait on a créé des structures qui sont spécialisées dans nos domaines pour faire en sorte que les salariés aient accès à leurs droits et que les employeurs soient protégés. Bon, j'ai plein d'autres choses à vous dire, mais c'était vraiment l'essentiel. En tout cas, bravo à vous.
Thank you very much. Merci, merci. I'm going straight to Basque Country, Spain. Carmel, please.
Bueno, gracias por la invitación y por poder compartir también en este foro pues esta experiencia. Bueno, yo voy a intentar repartirme entre contar la experiencia de cómo son los cuidados en España, quién nos financia, quién paga los cuidados y luego contar la experiencia de la cooperativa a la que yo represento. Bueno, un poco de marco. En España la prestación de cuidados corresponde al Estado a través de la ley de 2006 que se llama la promoción de la autonomía personal y atención a las personas en situación de dependencia. Desde ese momento, digamos que las personas por ley tenemos el derecho a que se nos atienda, ¿no? Este sistema de atención a la dependencia lleva recogida una cartera de servicios y prestaciones económicas y digamos que el servicio principal es el servicio de ayuda a domicilio. Este es un servicio que lo conocéis, todas las que estáis aquí, que tiene que ver con la atención personal dentro del domicilio y con las atenciones de carácter menajero. 534.000 personas en España reciben este servicio que tiene un copago, depende de las autonomías, es decir, las personas tienen que aportar pues, una pequeña cuantía económica. Esto ha sido una revolución en España porque este es un servicio público y este servicio preferente y es al que se acogen las personas que están en situación de dependencia. Pero es un servicio que, como han dicho las personas que me han precedido, es insuficiente. 3 días, 2 horas, 5 días, hora y media, es lo máximo que recibe una persona. Este servicio se complementa, lógicamente, pues con servicios de carácter privado, ¿no? O sea, es decir, la oferta pública convive pues, con una oferta privada en España. Bueno, esta oferta privada en España se sitúa, y estoy hablando de los datos de Intermon Oxfam, que son los datos más de carácter estatal, hay 577.000 personas, voy a hablar de mujeres, porque son mujeres las que están trabajando de forma mayoritaria, en el empleo doméstico. No discrimina este dato de cuántas están trabajando cuidando de menores, cuántas están haciendo tareas menajeras y cuántas están haciendo de tareas de cuidados. Esta es una bolsa común donde no hay una discriminación. No es lo mismo limpiar que cuidar, ¿no? Yo creo que es importante esos matices, ¿no? Se cree que hay unas 370.000 que están dadas de alta en seguridad social y el resto pues están trabajando pues en economía sumergida. 87% mujeres, 70% inmigrantes, 1.000 euros al mes. 34% de las trabajadoras europeas que trabajan en el servicio de ayuda a domicilio lo hacen en España. Tenemos ese privilegio de contratar este tipo de servicio, ¿no? Curiosamente. Y un 32% en afiliación a la seguridad social. Bueno, ya hablaré ahora cuál es nuestro papel, ¿no? Yo represento una cooperativa que trabaja en el servicio de ayuda a domicilio porque la ley prevé que esta prestación del servicio público no se haga de una forma directa, sino que se haga a través de terceros, de entidades sin ánimo de lucro o se haga a través de empresas mercantiles. Y nosotras trabajamos principalmente en el País Vasco, prestando a través de concurso público esta actividad. Yo hablaría de dos mundos completamente contrapuestos, ¿no? Cuando hablamos de escasez, de rotación, de poca fijeza, yo creo que hablamos de dos situaciones. Cuando hablamos de la actividad pública, por ilustrar, en el concurso de ayuda a domicilio, en el convenio colectivo de la ayuda a domicilio pública, una trabajadora de ayuda a domicilio gana en la actualidad 26.000 euros anuales, en 2029 ganará 29.000 euros y el salario mínimo en Euskadi es de 35.000 euros. Tenemos mucha fijeza, muy poca rotación y eso está condicionado porque hay un salario muy alto en este sector. Cuando hablamos de los servicios privados, estamos hablando de que no hay convenio colectivo, solo hay un decreto y que se paga el salario mínimo interprofesional, es decir, 15.000 euros anuales. Entonces, aquí, por supuesto, no hay fijeza, hay una rotación tremenda, bueno, de todo lo que hemos hablado anteriormente y que nos aplica pues, a todos los países, ¿no? que me han precedido. Y ahora quisiera hablar de una experiencia que está liderando el País Vasco, en concreto el Departamento de Economía, Trabajo y Empleo, no el Departamento de Políticas Sociales, sino Trabajo y Empleo. En el año 2020, cuando salimos del COVID, y está elaborando el Gobierno vasco la Estrategia Vasca de Empleo, incluye entre sus líneas de trabajo la economía de los cuidados, así lo denominan, como un eje generador de oportunidades de trabajo, principalmente por la precariedad que existe en toda esta actividad privada. Y todo este renglón teórico lo han llenado luego de una dotación económica. Ha habido 2.600.000 euros para poder hacer proyectos que lo han confiado en nuestra organización. ¿Y a qué nos hemos dedicado? Pues nos hemos dedicado en todos estos años, que el otro día lo presentábamos en Bruselas y lo presentaba nuestro vicepresidente del País Vasco, a 3 actividades: a la profesionalización de los cuidados. La profesionalización en el sentido de que hay mucha oferta de formación gratuita en el País Vasco y en España, y sin embargo las personas que están trabajando en los cuidados no pueden acceder a ella simplemente por una cuestión de horario. Y también por una cuestión de metodología. Claro, la inmigración en el País Vasco es una inmigración que procede de Sudamérica, bueno, personas que iban muchos años sin formarse, bueno, pues había que crear una metodología donde estas personas pudiesen acceder a obtener un certificado de profesionalidad, que es lo que exige la ley de dependencia como mínimo para trabajar tanto en residencias como en la ayuda a domicilio de carácter público. Entonces, 800 personas han pasado en estos 6 años con una metodología, yo creo que única, que ha permitido que las personas formándose los sábados, que yo no digo que esto sea un ideal, formarse los sábados, es decir, cuando las personas tienen su tiempo libre formarse, pero ha sido la manera en la que 800 personas han conseguido tener un certificado de profesionalidad y empezar a transitar pues, por unas mejores condiciones de vida. El segundo elemento ha sido el upskilling y reskilling, que ya nos lo comentaban. ¿Cómo es posible que otros sectores de actividad, como es la automoción, la industria 4.0, esté hablando de upskilling y en los cuidados solo hablamos de tener lo más básico? Bueno, pues había que incorporar una mirada de upskilling a las empresas que estamos trabajando en la prestación de cuidados. Y el último tiene que ver con la atracción de talento, porque también necesitamos talento, no solo el de las personas que se están acercando, sino de otros profesionales con otras competencias vinculadas, pues, a las TICs, al medio ambiente, bueno, pues a la ética, que también necesitamos que se incorporen a nuestras organizaciones. Yo creo que la apuesta del País Vasco es muy interesante. Y por último, y relacionado con lo que hoy nos ocupa aquí, dentro de toda esta apuesta de gobierno se han abierto 3 espacios de carácter municipal para conectar oferta con demanda, es decir, para profesionalizar, para personas que quieren contratar a trabajadoras que tengan un espacio común, para trabajar una orientación sociolaboral de carácter especializado, y lo que estamos es ahora promoviendo el diálogo social y la construcción de este debate social, de este diálogo que tan maduro está en Francia y en Italia y tanto tenemos que aprender. Bueno, pues en Euskadi estamos dando los primeros pasos, estamos pues prácticamente como vosotras, y yo creo que la diferencia es que aquí sí que está el gobierno detrás, intentando construir pues de una manera sólida, intentando crear una pedagogía para que las familias entiendan la importancia de empezar a construir diálogo y implicarse en los derechos de las trabajadoras. Entonces, yo creo que es una experiencia y un camino que podemos recorrer juntas. Entonces, la importancia de que nos hayáis invitado, porque estamos en una situación muy, muy parecida.
Yeah. Muchas gracias. Gracias. I am honored to somehow be in an association where you work together, where so very important things come forward on training, on occupational safety, on social rights. And I really loved, and I think that is also what inspired us, the saying, Julie, that you help, at least, I thought it was you help the workers best by empowering or by helping the employers. And that is exactly where we thought, after trying to go via the workers and the unions, we need to approach it from a different side. So thank you very much. Muchas gracias. Merci beaucoup. And in Italian for your contribution. They will be here, so if you speak the language and have questions for them, please don't hesitate. Sorry? A little bit. There's colleagues who speak English. Yes. Thank you. And these are thank you very much. And now, you may go back to sit, but I'm now going to ask to the stage Malou, Odd, and Annie. Malou is from the FNV. Annie is from the Open Embassy, doing something similar than we are doing, developing. And Odd is the head of EFA, the European Federation that you've just heard what wonderful work they do in other countries. So I am honored to have you here with us. And we were not sure how we were going to do this, but we are going to do a digital, it's a little bit of COVID. COVID has been mentioned, but a way of opening our initiative in a celebratory way. I'm looking at the team, how we are going to do this. This is the Vereniging Huishoudelijk Werkgevers. And thank you for sharing this celebrative moment with us. And I'm briefly going to ask what you and Malou on the social dialogue, of course, and Odd on us being part of the association, and Annie as an initiator of similar initiatives. What can we do? What are the next steps? Malou, do you want to start?
First, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Leontine. Where is she? I work in the PGB and taking care of a handicapped kid who's half paralyzed. Up to now, I'm 71, I'm still working. And in 2024, I broke my elbow. It's a good thing it did not happen in 2022 because I was able to get 1 month sick leave, which they did not want to honor because they didn't know about the court case. And eventually I got it because I told them you can get a substitute for me. I think that will be funded also by the PGB. But in any case, thank you. So, I'm Malou Villanueva. I'm secretary of the Migrant Domestic Workers Union. The FNV, the biggest federation in the Netherlands, opened its doors to us in 2008. And this is significant because in 2008, ILO Convention 189 was not yet signed as a convention, was not yet present as a convention. This convention recognizes domestic work as real work. So imagine being allowed into the union at a time when we were not yet workers, considered workers. So that's a big deal. We are, The Netherlands was signatory to the convention, but it has not ratified it yet. So right now we have two big goals, which are ratification, meaning recognize the work as real work, no different from any other work. And number two, regularize those doing undeclared work, coming here, working here for so many years, some more than a decade, working as migrants working as domestic workers. So those are our big goals, and the good thing with the FNV is that they recognize us as workers, and irrespective of status of stay. So that's it. Now, you may be wondering, why are we here? This is a formation of the formation of an employers association. These are the employers sharpening their knives to work for their interests against our interest. No, because it's this set of employers, this sector is really different from all other sectors. In the first place, they do not, these decent employers do not profit monetarily from our labor. They're consumers of our labor, but they do not earn money from it. From our labor, we are able to help them have free time to be able to go on with their careers or whatever. So that's our function. In fact, we are very happy with this endeavor, this attempt, after so many decades, to set up an employers association, because it legitimizes us. They recognize us as workers. They give us the respect that we have been asking for. We are workers. We are not just clusious doing by bunches. Now it is no longer just the union which recognizes us as workers. Now we have the employers themselves seriously recognizing us as workers, and they themselves as real employers. Now, it also strengthens the foundation of being able to push the government into recognizing us. Because it's not just us workers clamoring, recognize us. Hey, you there, we are workers, please. No, it's also the employers. So that is the basis of social dialogue. We have now the beginnings of a foundation to be able to enter into a social dialogue with the government, with the three entities necessary for a social dialogue. So that's it. I was asked to make it short and to make it extemporaneous. That's right.
Thank you. Thank you, Malu. We look forward to the dialogue. Odd. Thank you very much for coming, for supporting us, for supporting this event. Just a few thoughts on the initiative and what the Federation can do for us.
Thank you for the invitation, and actually I'm quite moved by what you say, and I'm very proud to be here today. I've been working at FA for like 7 years, and to be honest, you being here organizing this event today is very part of what we are doing and what we want to achieve at FA. Because you said it, like having a sector invisible is not good for the workers, it's not good for the employers. It means it doesn't exist, it's not real. And it's real, it's a real sector, it's a professional sector. And we had like 3 examples about how it was structured in 3 different countries. But the reality is that there's only 2 collective agreements in Europe, one in France, one in Italy, and everything has to be built from scratch. Because I'm going to be totally honest with you, most of the country, they don't want to recognize this model, this kind of work relationship as a real thing. And so they are putting some boundaries, it doesn't exist. But it's not because you don't want to recognize it that it does not exist. And let me just give you a tiny example, because everywhere in Europe it's about data collection. Data is great, data is oil today, so data collection. If you're taking Eurostat, for example, and statistical nomenclature, how many family employers in Europe? According to Eurostat, 600,000. But Julie just told us that in Europe, in France, there was 3.2 million. So we have a problem of data, but why do we have a problem of data? Because they are invisible, it's an invisible sector. And it's a circle that never ends. And I think having employers and workers, having families as employers around the table, being able to build social dialogue, create collective agreement, adapted to the reality of every country. You have your situation in the Netherlands, it's different from Spain, from Italy. That's basically what we are trying to do. Yesterday with Malou, we were in Brussels because there is no sectoral collective agreement, sectoral social dialogue, European sectoral social dialogue on domestic work. It doesn't exist. Why? Because there's not enough representative organization. And yesterday, we were around the table, Malou from the worker side, working with our counterpart, EFAT. And we made some step ahead, and I had the pleasure to announce that I'd be in Amsterdam today. And so it shows the importance of what we are doing. Because you said it, Malou, most of the unions took a lot of time to really include the domestic work topic on their spectrum, because no one understands, it's complicated, it's behind closed doors, you can just give it in cash. And so, no, it's proper work, it needs to be organized. As Carmele said, we need proper professionalization to guarantee upskilling. That's very important. There's not all other sector. And you mentioned the ILO Convention 189. What the Netherlands are doing, saying we don't need to ratify because everything is working well in our country. Well, basically, a lot of European countries did that. And in 2011, it was the release of the convention. In 2021, with other European organizations, we tried to launch and organize an event, trying to bring attention. Okay, it's the 10th anniversary of the ILO Convention. Why only 7 countries ratified? Maybe we have a problem. And so we went to see every 27 member states. And every time it was like, yes, it's a very important topic, but we won't ratify because, and every time. So we need to be stronger, and there's not only the European level. We need to do it from at national level, and what you are doing today is very, very amazing, because you managed to build from scratch an organization, despite the fact that national policies are not in favor of that. And so, congratulations, really. I'm so congratulations. Because we are working also with the Basque Country. In the Basque Country, it's a different situation. It's a government that is trying to launch a tax credit mechanism and is trying to launch an employer organization. Because something very important, an employer organization cannot be a company representing company, because it's different, because there's no HR in the kitchen, and you have to find... No, but you see what I mean? It's very important to realize the specificity of this model of employment and of this sector. And if it's not taken into account, then it means that it's doomed to be undeclared. It's doomed to be informal, and it cannot last. It cannot last in a European Union where you're talking about competitiveness, women's labor, etc. No, it doesn't make sense. First start to recognize the workers that are taking care of every close one we have. And so it's working for childcare, elderly care, or long-term care.
Thank you. And although you will be the final to speak, I do want to hear from Annie. Your initiative, maybe briefly, and where can we come together in this new activity?
Yes, thank you. And thank you everyone for being here. It's amazing to have so many people coming together to discuss this topic. So from Open Embassy, for the last 2 years, we've been exploring with different communities and different initiatives how employers can organize, how communities of workers organize, and what are the safety measures there. Because our focus has really been how do we make domestic work fairer and safer for everyone involved, especially the workers who are doing it. And I actually today just want to share a few important findings. I want to tell you briefly about the fear we see in the sector and how the gaps in the welfare state and the way it's pulled back from the sector leads to this invisibility and a lack of protections. And I want to also talk about the power that can come in collective organizing to carry risks that none of us can carry individually, and why that gives us a lot of power that an employers association can take on, and how that can also inspire changes so we can hopefully get closer to these beautiful models that we're seeing that have been built from, what was it, 1948 now? Like, we're starting late, but it's important work to build. So I want to very quickly tell you a little bit about the fear that we see, because we see that a lot of employers of domestic workers do not see themselves as employers. So they have a really hard time presenting themselves as, yes, I'm an employer. Sometimes that's people who are employing someone because they need a care worker. Sometimes it's a house owner that gets a cleaner because it's part of the status in Amsterdam, at least, that if you buy a house, it's expected that you also hire someone to clean that house rather than do it yourself. So we see all kinds of people start employing, but they don't think of themselves as employers. It can be, oh, that's just someone taking care of my house, or it can be, that is someone that's now a part of my family who is taking care of us. But the work aspect, that really gets understated. People don't talk about it, don't engage with the idea. We've had so many challenges of trying to connect to employers, and the moment we put the word employer on the table, the word work, they don't see themselves in it and they step away. And the reason we see this after a lot of exploration is that people are scared. Because employer, work, these are heavy terms that bring a lot of these responsibilities that all the speakers before me talked about. Those are responsibilities that exist for a reason, but when you're an individual, you also can't carry the burden of all of those responsibilities yourself. When the welfare state has stepped back and does not regulate the sector, as an employer, especially when you don't declare that you have a worker, you can't pay insurance that's a small contribution every month. So if your employee gets hurt or becomes disabled for life, that insurance will pay that. No. If you want to take that responsibility as an employer, you have to carry a huge financial burden. And there are many, many legal things like this that when people think of themselves as, hey, I might be an employer here, it really scares them because it's a lot to carry financially, and they're not ready to do it. They're also not meant to do it alone. That's why we have these welfare state systems. But because there is not one when it comes to domestic work, employers just end up running away from this definition and from this discussion. And I'm not saying this to paint a picture where the employers are bad. No, I see a lot of people who want to do it well, who really, really want to get it right, but they're navigating this cold system that has pulled back and left them to figure it out on their own. There is also a lot of fear, like a lot of people don't understand the laws and the fine print and how to navigate it, how does it apply to them. So that is where we need collective power and where we need people coming together and setting up new structures that are missing. Also so we can show these welfare state structures that it's possible and that the citizens want that. And we see already like very, very important initiatives that are coming up also organically. For example, in one neighborhood, we saw 7 different households who have the same cleaner who collected money to pay for that cleaner to go to the dentist. The cleaner did not have health insurance. She is undocumented. But because her employers made sure to collect the money, she could afford an expensive treatment, a treatment that a single employer could not afford. So this is an example of the collective insurance schemes that employers can enter into where we don't have to immediately have a collective agreement that comes from the state. This is something that you can start in your own neighborhood with your friends, with your neighbors that you talk to maybe like once a month. And you can have a collective fund where you're chipping in every month. So we're seeing ideas like this show up, and we're also seeing that workers themselves are also providing collective insurance to the employers. For example, some employers share, hey, I'm scared that maybe the service won't be done the right way, or maybe the worker won't show up. What happens then? Like, I'm left to figure things out on my own. But so many communities of workers already have solutions. They're already saying like, oh, I will, like maybe the first few times I work for you, I do it for cheaper so that you can see that I'll do it the right way. Or if someone falls ill and they can't make it, we'll send someone else from the community to take over the work. So there is already so much hard work from the workers to do the extra step, to provide insurance for the employers. And there is power for the employers to also step up and provide insurance for the employees. This is a reciprocal relationship that we can really nurture. And by working together, by exploring these associations, by really looking at our interactions as citizens in society and how do we come together, how do we do these things, we can develop models that really set the standard for what we want the state to provide.
Thank you very much. Now, it is time, I realize that. So if people have to leave, I would understand, and you are excused. But we, following your contributions, hear a lot, and the three contributions we've had from Spain, Italy, and France, of what you can do. So the question is, if you have a question or better idea of what you want to do in this new organization. This is an invitation. This is your moment to say, yes, I will start a working group on occupational safety and health. Or I want to think about the training that was mentioned, the skilling. What are we doing? Certifications. What would that mean? Or I want to dig in these social benefits, be it public eventually, or be it small scale in my apartment building. Some ideas. Are there ideas around the room that somebody wants to throw out here, or questions? Of course, that's also fine. Or are you all... Oh, we need to... Oh, dear. Okay, so this is really going to action. Yes.
I just have a question.
Ik vond van niet net. Ik pak even een ander. Misschien is de batterij ons. Neem die even.
I had loads of questions, but now I'm wondering, before we say what this organization should do, whatever, and its launch today, I'm just very curious still to hear what was actually launched exactly. Could you explain a little bit more? Because I think just registering at the Chamber of Commerce, whatever, but what is there now before we say what should be added?
Thank you. Very good question. What are we now? According to Dutch corporate law, you are an association if you say you are an association. So that is, we've said it, so it is what we are. But yes, you are right. We will register with the Chamber of Commerce. We will have a board. We will have somebody in charge of finance. We will ask people for membership fees. We will ask for memberships. We will come with newsletters. The first newsletter will be based on what we've heard today, and then we will continue to inform, because that is a very important one to start with, to inform everybody, including employers, of what their rights and obligations as employers are. So there's a legal association herewith. There's the plan to share information, and then there is the plan to get working groups going on specific topics, so that those are addressed from the association, and we can indeed, as was so rightly said, make this a movement together, because individual employers can never do all of that on their own. So that has been launched. Well, there's positions in the board. It's been Marijke Bell and myself have initiated together with Meerte and Elena. Where are you? So the four of us have, and they've put together the program and did all the legwork. So maybe we should give you a small applause, Elena and Meerte. But yeah, if people think I want to take action in this, I want to be involved more than receiving a newsletter, this is the moment. Wait, you need a mic.
Thank you so much. Is it possible to become tonight a member of the association?
Yes.
That's the first question before, can I be a member, and then I will do something. Okay.
Yes, we have a website. There's a QR code. And if all goes according to plan, if you scan the QR code, you come to the website and you can sign up. I don't think we've agreed on the fee that you have to pay, which is typically something you do in an algemene ledenvergadering. You decide, which is the board and the membership gathering. You set the statutes and you set the fee that we will find feasible for all the actions that we want to be taking. So that would be the first official algemene ledenvergadering, where we would set the statutes, the fee to be paid by the members, etc. Malou.
Maybe I'm overexcited. I'm overexcited. But I propose that instead of waiting for them to scan that and to fill something online, if there are those who now already want to be members of the Employers Association, to just do it black and white on a piece of paper, and then with the number by. Yeah. Then we can follow up. Then you can follow up.
It's already, yeah. So Marijke has a list outside where you can write your name and your email address so that we can also contact you through that way if you don't want to do it through the QR code. Thank you all for these very practical. See, I'm an academic, so there's other people who do the practical stuff. That's great. Other ideas?
Thank you. I was thinking, do you also take donations? Is this also a way to gather? I mean, membership fees are nice, but maybe there are people who would like to donate to like an initiative like this. I think that's a really nice. And I really liked your idea about the occupational safety working group. I'm a criminologist, so I'm happy to be a part of that. So, yeah.
Thank you. Well, again, speaking as an academic, donations are always welcome. And we will also, together with EFFE, develop ideas for funding, which EFFE applies for at the European level. So that is also a source where funding will be coming from. At least we hope that that's tomorrow morning. We sit down and think how we get that together. Can I give somebody else the...
Yeah, it was mentioned by the speakers that some employers, they really want to be decent, but they don't know how the laws, no? But Brit, she has a group of employers and they have a contract. They have a sample contract where it's clear, signed by the employer and the employee, so that the terms of employment are clear. Maybe Brit can share that to the group.
Yeah, so this is also a very important thing. information. So there is, through the website, access to a standard contract, access to the general information of what you need to know as an employer, on, for instance, what Leontine said about the 4 weeks holiday pay, the 6 weeks pay in case of illness. So all of that information is available, and we will be communicating that in ways we will develop our communication. Marijke, I see you want to add something. Please do.
Yeah, well, last weeks we have been working more and more concrete, and I'm really happy with Elena and Meerte indeed, who have done so much to organize this. But it is indeed the question of who is going to be in the board and how is it. Let's first, it's so new in the Netherlands that it's very important that all of you contribute what you can do before we say this should be the board and this should be the statutes, or we do have a kind of document that says this is the intention we have, but let's make this a movement, and because we also feel, and Annie also referred to that, employers can be scared a bit to say, I am an employer and I dump my name in a website and I don't know where it's going to. But let's make a network, because we can also be friends or sisters or brothers of employers, or we are all involved in how to organize domestic work and care. And so let's make it not too much like, are you an employer or not an employer? No, that's not the case. It's about what is domestic work and what's care work, and how can we together organize to make this movement stronger and support each other. Otherwise, it's member or not member. It's not so important for now. Later, we can organize more precise, but then we have more thoughts about it. So all go to either the QR code or the paper and the pen, and be involved. There can be a newsletter. You can also contribute, because there are also organizations or people who have special knowledge. Let's share this knowledge and experiences and become stronger.
Thank you, Marijke. And I think with that we close the night. Thank you very much. Doortje heeft nog een punt. That's my aunt, so I can't say no. Oh, zeg. Ja, dat mag ook in Nederland. Met de microfoon. Gaan we daar staan? Nee.
Nee, ik vroeg me af, want dit moet ook helpen dat illegale mensen legaal kunnen worden. Ja. Of er genoeg daar aandacht aan is besteed.
Yeah, the point on undocumented migrants getting legal status, that would definitely be one of the workshops. The workshop that will set up the lobby to that end, so that indeed legal employment doesn't only mean legal employment, but also a legal migration status. Definitely another topic that we will work on. And with that, I close. Thanks. Thank you very much to the team from EFA. We will see each other tomorrow morning. I don't know if there's anything outside or if this is just it, or downstairs there's the bar. I guess that's a Dutch habit to refer everybody to the bar. Thank you very much.